Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Frank. He's Aaron William Freeland, and we're here to talk about the Maple Leafs, the Maple Leafs. And
Yes.
Aaron's all excited because, well, we showed some dedication to our Canadian baseball team. So now we're going to show some dedication to one of our Canadian hockey teams and the local one to our community, even though it's 2 hours away from where I am or whatever. Yeah, so here it is. It's all about talking Maple Leafs. And I guess when it comes to the Maple Leafs, one guy that stands out, I gotta say, stands out for the team, Aaron, has to be Tavares.
John has spent a lot of time with the Leafs, spent a lot of time with the New York Islanders too, took a massive haircut to come back for another few years with the Maple Leafs, which I genuinely appreciate because he's certainly fixated on winning a cup here, and I don't blame him for that. He managed to continue helping out. He snapped a tie in the third period last night. And the Leafs managed to beat the Utah Mammoth 5-3 for their third consecutive win. Tavares now has his 501st NHL goal. Nylander, Nyes, and Matthias Michelli each had a goal and an assist for Toronto. Nylander now has 5 goals and 11 assists during an 8-game point streak. He's got 16 points. He's averaging 2 a game. Stolarz managed to stop 21 shots. Sergachev, Michael Carcone, and Dylan Guenther scored for Utah, who were coming off a 2-1 overtime win at Buffalo on Tuesday night, and Vitek Vanacek had 14 saves. I always find it interesting when expansion teams or transfer teams, the announcers go to talk about their history because they'll say, this is the Mammoths' first ever game in Toronto. And it's like, yeah, but what about the Utah Hockey Club or the Phoenix Coyotes or the Arizona Coyotes? Like, don't they? Yeah, but this is the first time they've been to Toronto as the Mammoth, as opposed to the Hockey Club, which is what they were last year, or the Arizona Coyotes, which is what they were the year before. It's one of those. You guys gotta. It's
or the college
irony.
campus Arizona team.
Right? The Sun Devils.
Yeah, the Shade Devils, because they weren't quite the Sun Devils.
But after that, the Mammoth are going to be playing Montreal on Saturday, so they have a couple days off to lick their wounds, and the Maple Leafs are going to be hosting Boston on Saturday, so that's going to be an interesting matchup as well.
Absolutely. My dogs are in here. Hey, what are you doing?
Uh-oh.
Come here. Okay, are you a hockey fan? You a Leaf fan?
She will be now.
Oh, buddy here is saying count me in. Okay, there we go. Got them both. There's a third one, but let's not go with 3. All right, yeah. That's a great thing. So, what are the takeaways with the line movement that Berube threw out there?
Well, after getting in their own way for much of the season, the Maple Leafs finally took a collective step forward in the past 4 periods. With their come from behind win against Pittsburgh and the 5-3 win on Wednesday over Utah, they're unveiling new lines with goals from their 4 most noted snipers. They're also on a 3-game winning streak. There was no need for Craig Berube to remix his units this time in a search for production or just signs of life. Lawton, in his return from injury with Domi and Steven Lorentz, they didn't score, but they had 7 of Toronto's 15 hits. So in that respect, the line is functioning as intended. Austin Matthews scored for the 3rd straight game. It looks like he's finally coming around again.
He's not coming around again because he's not the same guy, and he can't be the same guy he was, Aaron. No, I got to draw the line there. He's got to create his own path. There is no more Marner, and the guys that he has to carry, the guys that are on his line. I love Michelli. He dished out a nice pass, but Aaron, he's got to do what he's doing, and that is he has to be a force, and he has to be the driver on the line now. He's not the sit-back guy. Sorry, I have to interrupt because my goodness, because if Matthews can't do that, we got issues in Toronto. Toronto fans are going to have a lot to because there's no need of they need more than a trigger man now. No. And he's proven that he can do that. He can be defensive and be offensive.
Well, the good news is so far this season, Matty Nyes is kicking in with 18 points. That's 5 goals.
Oh my goodness. Isn't
Right?
that amazing? When you think about it, you say to yourself, would you have thought Nyes would have 18 points at this point? And honestly, if you're honest, Aaron, Matthews was a trigger man and Marner was a setup man. And when that setup man of 100 plus points leaves town, this is why I say responsibilities shift a little.
Well, Nylander's currently
great job. Sorry,
Nylander's currently tied for third in the league with 20 points. He's got 6 goals and 14 assists. Who expected that? Nicholas Robertson is actually up there for the Leafs as well. He's got 3 goals and 4 assists. Tavares has continued to be just absolutely ageless with 7 and 11. Bobby McMahon is the sole drag on the right-hand side of the second line currently. He's only got 3 goals and 2 assists, but he's seen limited ice time and limited game time, so that's not really that much of a surprise.
But the problem for him is the one that Robertson has had. You don't produce, you end up on the bench. You don't have that much ice time, or on the stands. In the press box, even worse. So Buddy's got to get off the schneid. It's just got to end. And this Leaf team is playing now with a coach who demands and has options. He doesn't have to play Bobby McMahon. Dude, you're not going to play the way you should. He's a top 6 guy. And if he doesn't play top 6 style, there's no room for him down the bottom 6. That's a crowded group.
Well, the unfortunate thing is one of the victims of this has actually been Easton Cowan, who has been sent down to
the numbers
by
thing.
The Leafs. But
we know that's the numbers thing, right? It's a cap thing.
And that's the thing. He also needs seasoning. He needs to get in the reps. And as it currently stands, with Lawrence and Lawton coming back, Domi shifting back to the fourth line, it's not really an option. Tanev and Benoit.
Then there's the camp thing, and to what you just said right now, right? The camp thing. If he follows through on his not threat, but his idea of he's considering basically walking away from his contract.
Hey,
if he did that, we wouldn't have to watch Easton Cowan go down south.
Well, here's the thing, though. They don't even have room to bring Kampf up in the first place, even if they wanted to. Right, he's been given the A down with the Marlies. He's basically willing to set $2.4 million on fire to try to get out of this current situation. So, we'll have to see how that goes.
Let me ask you, Aaron. You don't want to lose Robertson, correct?
No.
Would you be willing to lose McMahon?
Based on their cap hit, potentially.
You put him on waivers. He's a serviceable player. If you can put up with his inconsistency, right? He's a guy that could be on your team. Or he could sort of get a little, how shall I put this? Attenuation in the American Hockey League.
Here's the thing. With a salary of only $1.35 million, both Bobby McMahon and Steven Lorentz can be buried on the Marlies, and their salaries would disappear from the cap. So that's $2.7 million right there. It's worth, I think, taking a chance. McMahon is 29 years old. He's a lot older than people think. A lot of people tend to think of him as a younger player, but him and Steven Lorentz are both 29 years old. You want to put them back down on the Marlies, maybe help them, have them help the rookies get through it. That's fine. But at the same time,
the risk of go, Aaron. One of them's got to go. If you want to have Easton Cowan on your team, and Easton Cowan has proved to be a good offensive player, one of his main negatives, I guess, when they were thinking of having him play was his size. But he's proven that he's bulked up a little bit, and he can play bigger. That was his only weakness, in my opinion. Because the guy has a scoring touch, the guy has a passing touch, the guy can skate.
He's serviceable. It's just a question of being able to fit him into the lineup.
The numbers game.
That you've got a clear cap, and it's at this point here, it is a numbers game. You're just sort of waving your magic wand at the.
They've got too many guys. That bottom 6 What's the matter? You locked yourself in here? Well, you shouldn't have locked yourself in here. He's upset because he locked himself. Hang on, guys.
And that's fair.
You
as
go ahead and talk.
Yeah, as it currently stands, if you're looking at the bottom six, you got Blay making 775. You got McMahon and Lawrence making 1.35. Lawton making 1.5. Robertson making 1.825, which is just over the variable limit. And then Calle Yarncroke making 2.1. Yarncroke's still a serviceable player, but at the age of 34, at the age of 34, he's getting up there too. I mean, Robertson's still only 24 years old. There's still plenty of opportunity for him out there.
But you can't. He's not. You put him on the yo-yo and you lose him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He came to the Leafs in just the wrong time. He broke his leg at the start of the season, and was out for the majority of that. This kid has had nothing but bad luck when it comes to his development because of COVID, because of injuries, all this stuff. So, and it's tough because if they don't necessarily know what they have and they keep sending him up and down and up and down.
If I could keep two of the three we discussed, Lawrence, McMahon, and Yarncroke, I would keep Yarncroke and dispose of one of the other two. And here's why I'm saying that. Because the other two have to score to be in this lineup. Yarncroke can do some other stuff. Yarncroke is a good defensive player that they can throw out there killing penalties, which they need help in because they're not that good at it, right? So, Camp is another guy that's good on penalty killing, but for some reason, I think it's the money he's making that makes him disposable, right? And that's why I say I would keep Yarncroke. If all three went, I wouldn't be disappointed at all, because if all three went, they could work something out defensively. Both Matthews and Nylander can kill penalties, but we're back at that old story. Do you want to waste their energy killing penalties when they can be an offensive threat 5-on-5?
And I think the one major concern for me is the fact that Domi's been dropped back to the fourth line again, and you can't have a $3.75 million right winger on your fourth line. It just doesn't work.
But Aaron, I agree. I totally agree that he's making himself dispensable. But here's the thing. Do you know of any teams that have a $3 million contract they wish they didn't have to pay?
That is very true.
Not every player earns his keep in the National Hockey League.
That's what Everton called the slice. That $3 to $6 million slice is what kills you.
I mean, he is an up and down player, and I don't mean up and down the wing. I mean, he's an up and down player. He has value one day, then looks like doesn't have value. He's an inconsistent player, and unfortunately, with this Leaf team, the marching orders from the coach and the general manager are consistency. So up and down isn't an attractive habit to have on this Maple Leaf team, because they don't outscore their problems. They can't outscore them. So at the end of the day, there has to be consistency scoring and consistent defense. We're watching games here where the Leafs are giving away a lot of, they were saying last night about the Stolars. He's what, last year by this time he had 11 900 plus, right, goals against average. This year he has three or four. So, but it's not like they're losing games because of him, because he's making saves. As the expert goaltender, the former Sabre, said, he's building his repertoire up a little bit. He's getting better all the time, which is what you want to see.
Yeah, consistency and improvement over the course of the season is basically what you're looking for here, and it's not easy. But he has been improving. He has been slightly more usable than Caden Primo. We'll have to see if Hildeby gets himself into the mix, and I'm anxious to see Justin Wool come back. So,
part of the reason why Stolars has had a problem is because there's been a bit of an emotional. Him and Wall had a good thing going emotionally. Yeah. The two of them, the tandem thing for them was a good tandem, not a bad tandem, a good tandem. They motivated each other. And when Wall just disappeared like that, I think that affected you. You wouldn't blame Stollers for having it affect him, and then feeling like he has the burden of being the 100% goaltender as opposed to being spelled off. So yeah, so he's a bit of an issue, but he's getting better now. Let's talk about Shanahan, who's looking for a job.
Yeah, Dreger reported that Shanahan was going back to NHL's hockey ops department. That wasn't necessarily a surprise. According to Nick Kyprios, the Sabres, Blackhawks, and Predators are teams that may be looking for an executive to help them turn the corner from being out of the Stanley Cup playoff mix year in and year out to finally being contenders. The Barry Trotz experiment in Nashville is very much going not well.
I don't think Shanahan's the guy.
The Kevin Adams experiment in Buffalo hasn't been going very well either. And Chicago has basically been pretty much a tire fire for the past 3 or 4 years.
Is it not frustrating if you're a Sabres fan like you used to be with Ottawa fan? They start really well the first couple of games, and then in the tank they go.
Yeah, and it's finding consistency that has been the biggest issue, right? So, I mean, at least with Shanahan, they did find some consistency, even if that consistency was first-round exits. Hear me out.
I'm not.
But at least he managed to get them back to the playoffs.
No. The guy had 4 really good players on his team. 4 really, 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 really good players on his team. And he gave them a rookie general man. No, this is a guy who makes bad decisions. I wouldn't know. I don't think he's. Oh, look, I'm just kidding. I'm just showing bitterness when it comes to how he handled the Leafs. He deserves a chance. Everybody deserves another chance.
Well, there's got to be more than the same 35, 36, 37 trusted hockey guys around that get passed from team to team as general manager and president.
Well,
got to find something new at some point.
The sports world is getting into, let's try something different. Let's see what's out there that isn't what's been out there for years. Let's try something new. And you know what? When it comes to a guy in his position, new isn't the best thing. Success is very important. That's the problem, right? Because to be in that position, you have to, But like I said, I'm not bitter about him. I just don't think he makes good decisions. The Dubas thing was dubious at best.
Well, and I think that was the only way that Shanahan felt that he could still keep a hand on the rudder.
That's exactly. I agree with you 100%. He brought Dubas in because he felt he was pliable.
Exactly. And as soon as he wasn't, away you go.
Yeah. And the thing is, the problem is that the young guy learned a lesson that the older guy didn't want to learn. Or at least the way it played out, it seemed like that, right? Because Dubas had, I get the sense that Dubas is not a dumb person, right? He's pretty smart. He's an intelligent young man. And I think that if he was left to his own devices, I think he would have traded Marner while he still had the opportunity to. He would have done it. I think he would have done it. And anybody who's sitting on that team watching what's going on knew that there had to be a change. It wasn't like I just, again, Aaron, and this is me being a broken record, and I hope it's the last time I say this. The chance was missed because of Shanahan to get rid of Marner when they could have got rid of him for something of quality. No one in this group, the two of us, suggests that Marner is not a good player. Neither of us is suggesting that. But no. I will question whether having him, Nylander, and Austin Matthews on the same team in the playoffs is a good idea. That's my problem.
Regular season, they were great. Regular season, they were absolutely serviceable. But you get to the playoffs with those three, and it's just like,
Well, you got to have somebody, Aaron, and we've seen it with Florida. We've seen it with Tampa. We've seen it with Vegas when they won the Cup. Every team that we've seen win the Cup have a guy or two that grab you by the collar and they say, okay, now we're going to win. Never mind this BS. Whereas I don't see Austin Matthews in this position. I don't see Nylander in this position. I don't see Marner in this position. And unfortunately, I don't see Tavares in this position. So at the end of the day, what has to happen is you got to have somebody that grabs the guys by the collar and says, boys, I want to win. Are you with me, or I pound you in practice? Like, you got your choices.
And they tried that. They tried that with Marlowe. They tried that with Thornton. They tried that with Simmons. All
Yeah, but
great
they weren't trying.
ideas. But
The problem was they weren't trying it. They were misfiring. The reason they were misfiring is it wasn't the other team they had to beat up. It was their own team they had to beat up.
yeah, it's so true.
Right? It's the emotional thing. And you know what? That's old news. I'm sorry I brought it back. But this is what we're talking about with this team, right? There has to be players on this team they have right now that hold each other responsible. And it's much easier to hold Nylander responsible alone, right? Now you've got Nylander, who, while everybody's stomping on him earlier, while we were stomping on him, the question is chicken or egg. Was he going to play that well, or did he play that well because he got a little bit of a nudge?
Yeah, that's
right?
the real question.
And they need a nudge. Look, in sports, there has to be this. I mean, let's face it, old-fashioned gumption and going through a wall, right, gets you a long distance in sports, gets you a longer distance in hockey, because the willingness to go through a wall is what gets you through the playoffs. The lack of willingness to go through a wall, you can hide the fact that you are not willing to do it and still play really well in the regular season, because the intense level of the games are not the same. They're just not the same. And the worst part is that the whistle during the season is over here. During the playoffs, it's over here. And that's the difference that you need in the players. That difference. That's the problem. You got to have guys that are okay with the whistle over there.
You've got to find yourself a bunch of guys that can play during the regular season or turn into absolute maniacs during the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, they haven't done that.
Absolutely. And you know what? Do they have the players to do that? They think they do. And I really think that we're not seeing those players play the way we think they're hoping they're going to play, right? Because they've got a couple of players that they traded for, and I don't see them. I see once in a while it shows up once in a while, but it doesn't show enough for me. But that doesn't mean it won't show up for the playoffs. So if they got guys that can growl a little bit, they'll be a better team in the playoffs. And Aaron, that's what Leaf fans want. They want a better team in the playoffs. Let me ask you a question. He's a Leaf fan. I'll ask him this question. He'll represent the rest of you. Do you care if the Leafs don't finish first?
No, I just want us in the playoffs.
See, he finished the sentence. That's exactly what it is. So good luck to the Leafs. Look, they're playing badly. People are concerned. They won 3 in a row, so they're not playing badly anymore. But just look down the bottom of the standings there. There's a team there wearing a bunch of rings down there.
Yeah.
They won the last 2 rings.
I think that's what concerns me the most is the entire Eastern Division. When you look at it, everybody's over 500, which is absolutely nutty to me. From the Rangers to the Panthers, all the way up to the Habs, everybody's over 500. Like, what
did I tell you in training camp, Aaron? I told you that, and I believed it, and it's only early, so I'm not going to sit here and say, "See, I told you so." But what I did say was that the Leafs, if they drop a little, are going to have a problem, because there's teams that are playing a lot, that will play a lot better, and that doesn't mean the Leafs aren't going to make the playoffs. What it means is the Leaf organization are going to have to lean on all that extra money they have in regards to how they prepare scouting, how they prepare the team. There are advantages still. The cap isn't the only way you make better teams. A lot of it's coaching, and they can hire extra coaches. And they've been known to hire too many, apparently. And they have a lot of staff, too. and some suggest that maybe there are too many. But they can cheat that way, if you want to call that cheating. They can do things with players to help them be better and pay for it. They can afford to pay to do that.
As it currently stands, the Leafs are third in their division, fifth in their conference, and 11th in the league overall. So we are, for all intents and purposes, sitting pretty. But
that's where they've been the past few years, Aaron.
Yep.
It's
but
no
we're also only 1 point out of a wild card spot, just in front of Boston and just in front of Washington.
Yeah. Well, again, it's because the teams below them have improved a lot.
Yep.
And the Bruins were a team that last year they were bottom feeders, right? They were sellers. In fact, they got a young guy from the Leafs that's doing pretty well for them.
This is the joy of the early season.
Yes, and it still is. The real story's Christmas. The way teams play at Christmas time is a precursor to how they'll play in the spring. And that's all Aaron wants. He wants to see a good Leaf team in the spring. All he wants from this Leaf team that they've got going on right now is a Leaf team that, even if they narrowly make it into the playoffs. By the way, the Florida Panthers narrowly made it into the playoffs. And guess where they ended up? So finishing narrowly in the playoffs is not a bad thing. You also wanted to talk about some other. Well, okay, you want to touch the Red Blacks Dinwiddie thing a little bit?
Yep. I mean, we can always touch the rest of this stuff tomorrow because it's still going to be fresh and nobody's playing tonight. So
absolutely.
But I do want to touch on Dinwiddie because I know that as a brilliant cross promotion, you have a rather nice 40-minute piece with Dinwiddie that's soon to be available as well.
Yep.
But the Red Blacks have actually named Ryan Dinwiddie their head coach and general manager. To all the Toronto fans who were saying he should be fired, I hope you're happy. You could suck on a bunch of eggs because this is going to be terrible for us next season. But congratulations to Ryan on his move. He was 51-35 with the Argonauts. Okay.
Two
the
Grey
fact
Cups.
that some people wanted this people fired after getting 2 Grey Cup championships in 22 and 24, 4 consecutive Eastern Finals appearances, a 16-win season, and the Coach of the Year back in 2023.
A record-breaking 16-win season.
The fact that you people wanted this guy fired it makes me scratch my head.
Well, while there were some that wanted him fired, a lot of people were in shock when they found out that he was gone and were very disappointed. And the problem is, he is gone now. And unfortunately, the saying in hockey is sometimes players must be traded because there aren't enough pucks on the ice.
Yeah.
In this case, there wasn't enough management positions to include Dinwiddie's improvement. Dinwiddie wanted to be a GM. He told me that, 2 years ago. And I kept it under my hat, not because I did it on purpose. It's because I didn't think it came up, so there's no point to talk about it. But definitely not surprised that he's a GM. He's a great football mind. I asked him today, and on the show, I asked him, how do you feel about the challenge of both positions? Now, another question was asked about doing it by David, but I wanted to answer the question that I answered. And if you want to watch the show, you can see it. I wanted to understand, how does he play good cop, bad cop when he's both cops?
Yeah, that's the really interesting situation that I think not a lot of people take into account when they look at stuff like that. I think it's great that he's been tapped to do both, but by the same token, who does he play himself off against, right? So,
well, in Ottawa, the only person who's missing in Ottawa that he had here in Toronto is Pinball.
Yeah,
Pinball
was a very useful foil.
And not McCarthy. Anyway, they have a quasi GM, just like now he has in Ottawa. He bumps himself up, and Burke bumps himself up VP, but he's going to be a GM-ish, right?
GM light.
Yeah, like, sure. That works. So he's going to be GM light, and of course Dinwiddie's going to be GM heavy with a heavy undertone of head coach. So
Hmm.
it's going to be interesting what he's going to do with there. David was curious as to who he's bringing. He came right out and asked him, "So who you taking with you when you go to Ottawa?" You know what happened? Nothing. Dinwiddie didn't tell him.
I, I suppose the next question is, who do the Argonauts bring in to replace him?
Yeah, there's a lot of choices, and there's a guy in Winnipeg who played out his contract, and I don't know if the timing is perfect for him to come here. I think he'd be a great addition. Not as much fun media wise because he's very not anti-media, but he does not.
Now, are we referring to a former lineman
Yes,
of the
yes.
Argonauts?
We're referring to a former teammate of Pinball Clemens and a former player under Pinball Clemens when he was head coach, and yeah, he's my best pick for coach. He would be great. The Argo fans would be lucky to have him. For those of us that cover the team, no, that's where the benefits are not for the media with him. The benefits are for the fans. And you know what? What it really comes down to, the fans are all that matters. Those of us that ask him questions will just have to work a little harder to ask him questions that he's willing to understand, because he's hardly ever willing to understand, to answer questions. He understands them. He just won't answer them.
No, he's going to make you work for it, Frank. You're going to have to earn it this
Oh
time
yeah,
around.
oh yeah. My guest last week, is a reporter in Winnipeg. So I'll be talking to Jeff about how do you deal with him as a coach. Yeah, Winnipeg's looking for change. They haven't signed him yet. You never know; they could sign him. But you would think that if they had any intention of signing him, they would have signed him, or if he was willing, they would have signed him before this season ended. So he's played out his contract. He's a free agent. I don't know. With Ottawa getting Dinwiddie, right? I don't see Hamilton's not going to change nobody else in the East is going to change their coach except
No, I can't see that happening.
And in the West, who's going to leave in the West? I mean, BC has a new coach that got him into the playoffs. Saskatchewan has a coach that is leading a team that could win the Grey Cup, who's a favorite to win the Grey Cup, and of course Edmonton has a new coach as well, and Calgary. I don't see any of those coaches in trouble. The only coach I saw in trouble, funny, ironic, and is Winnipeg and Toronto, as it turns out. So one of them went to Ottawa. The guy from Toronto, I believe. That you're probably going to see him in Toronto. The only other place for him to go is, of course, stay in Winnipeg and sign. Is it possible that that'll work? That'll happen? I don't know.
Well, at the end of the day, they did manage to cross over, so they did at least manage to get to the playoffs 6 years in a row, which is a pretty decent accomplishment, and a rather ignominious end for Winnipeg, unfortunately. But that's the way these sorts of things go. So,
tell me about the Montreal Victoire.
So there is a very good chance that the Montreal Victoire could actually steal the Walter Cup this year. They are on the lowdown. They've had a really sneaky and really smart offseason. They kept Erin Ambrose. They were assuming that a lot of people were thinking that she'd be going to a new franchise, but she stayed put. They lost rookies Jennifer Gardner and Kayla Barnes, who are big pieces, to be sure, but not as integral as Ambrose. But then Danielle Silva-Jo took over from there. She signed Jessica DiGirolamo and Maggie Flaherty, both puck movers who can log solid minutes. She also re-signed Katie Tabin and then drafted Clarkson University standout Nicole Gosling, 4th overall. They've built themselves some playoff-ready depth for themselves. I think with Marie-Philippe Poulin, Laura Stacey, and Anne-Renée Desbiens headlining everything, they are sneaky good to be on top of the league this year.
Absolutely. All right. And then we have, of course, well, real quick, I'll just mention these. We'll go into detail tomorrow. Bieber signs with the Jays. Blue Jays extend an offer to Bo Bichette. We'll talk about these ones tomorrow. Don Mattingly leaves the Blue Jays. That close to winning a World Series. And then let's talk about the Flyers beat the Habs. The Habs have been on a roll. Not last night.
No, they appear to be having some consistency issues. They unfortunately didn't play as well as they could have. Now they are still on top of the division at 9-3-1, ahead of Detroit, who are 9-5-0. But blowing that blowing that game against the Flyers was definitely not something that they wanted to do. They worked hard to catch up. That's the thing. The Flyers were leading 3-0 before the game was 8 minutes old. Um,
Well,
but
you get a team like Montreal that's having new success, and people are seeing. Let's see how are they having scouts are going to go to work.
yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Right, scouts. The Bruins host the Senators after a shootout victory.
Yeah, so the Ottawa Senators are 6-5-2. The Bruins are 8-7, and the game is tonight in another approximately 22 minutes. Now, Morgan Geekie has 9 goals and 3 assists for the Bruins. Pasternak has 5 goals and 7 assists over the past 10. Shane Pinto has 8 goals and 4 assists for the Senators. Tim Stützle has 6 goals and 6 assists. Of note, Archer Khaliev is apparently no longer with the Senators. He's been shipped off somewhere due to some gambling issues. So we'll have to see how that affects the back end.
Yeah, Jets in LA. Kempe scored 200. Doughty.
Doughty's broken the Los Angeles record for goals by a defenseman. Kemper made 23 saves. Kevin Fiala added a late power play goal. So yeah, Kempe's got his 200th career goal, and Drew Doughty now has the record for most goals by a defenseman. He passed franchise stalwart Rob Blake with his 162nd goal in 1,221 games with an empty netter with under a minute remaining. Corey Perry played in his 1,400th career game, becoming the 44th player in NHL history to do so, joining Brent Burns, Alex Ovechkin, and Anze Kopitar amongst active players that appeared in more than 1,400 games. Adam Lowry, Jets captain, played third-line center in his season debut after undergoing hip surgery in late May.
And of course, Kadri scores his 1,000th. Plays his 1,000th game.
Yeah, he also scored a goal as they beat the Blue Jackets 5-1. There was a wonderful ceremony before the game where he got a silver stick from the NHL. But Morgan Frost, Blake Coleman, Adam Klapka, and Michael Backlund with an empty netter also scored for Calgary, who are now 4-9-2. They are last in the league's overall standing, despite winning consecutive games for the first time. Wolf made 42 saves. Jet Greaves had 21 stops, but has fallen to 3-4-0 for the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Oilers continue to spin thanks with the help of the Stars.
Yeah, the Oilers unfortunately lost both games on their miniature road trip. They blew 5 different 2-goal leads in their first 14 games so far this season. So Edmonton is not having a good time of it. They staked themselves to a 3-1 lead midway through the third period Tuesday in Dallas, but unfortunately managed to blow that one too. So that's 6 times in 15 games and 3 times in the last 4 games. 4-3 loss to New York last Thursday, a 3-2 loss to St. Louis on Monday. That Edmonton has wilted under comeback pressure. We're not 100% sure what's going on there, but it looks like tough times ahead.
Hawks phenom Bedard scores his first goal in his hometown. Hometown, of course, is Vancouver, and Vancouver did not look good in the loss.
No, they did not. Aatu Ratti and Evander Kane scored the goals, while Kevin Lankinen stopped 23 of the 27 shots he faced. But Spencer Knight made 43 saves for the win. Despite outshooting Chicago 45-28, the Canucks could not buy a goal until the third period. By then, the Blackhawks were already up 4-0, and that was basically it for Vancouver. Lots of buzzing, lots of action, but unfortunately, even with Evander Kane getting 10 shots on goal and Tom Willander extending his point streak to 2 games now, that was unfortunately not enough. All the scoring actually happened in the third period. Bertuzzi had 2 goals. Ilya Mikheyev had another. Bertuzzi then got his third shortly after that before Aatu Ratti and Evander Kane responded. And Connor Bedard iced it at the 19-minute mark with an empty netter.
And on really sad news, so sad, Cowboys Marshawn Nyland, 24, apparently committed suicide. He had some issues. He was being chased by the police. Um, yeah. Um, so he fled the scene of an accident on foot, and then they found him. He basically, they're saying that they believe that he committed suicide. Another football player doing something mentally questionable. Um, and there's always the attachment of football players and taking certain drugs that do tend to change a person's behavior. I'm not suggesting that's the case, because people commit suicide and do stupid things that aren't on like steroids, for example. But we always worry about football players when they die at an age of 24, and there's no, at least as far as anyone mentions here, that there were no underlying issues other than he was suicidal, and they knew he was. There were reports that he could have been suicidal. So I pray for that, for his family, and I hope whatever it is that caused his death, and if it's something that information would help to help negate other football players. I got a soft spot for football players. It's showing. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, that's a horrible death. Horrible way to go.
It is unfortunate. Hopefully, they will be able to determine exactly what happened, and hopefully more NFL players will turn to get the help they need, because they don't have to suffer through this sort of thing alone. There are support systems in place for them. It's just getting over the stigma of seeking help for this sort of thing that I think seems to be the biggest stumbling block. And for other players who could potentially be in the same position that Nyland is, I do hope that they get the help that they need before it's too late.
All I'll say is trust that you're not alone. Reach out to a close friend if you're feeling down and out. Talk to somebody that you trust.
100%.
Somebody out there. And the other thing is, you'd be surprised how many people you can trust. If you believe you can get the help and the support that you need, enough that you can find the road to safety, really, because that's what we're talking about. People are unsafe. People who want to commit suicide are unsafe, and the person that puts them in danger is the one they see in the mirror. So they have to reach past that person in the mirror. Hey, listen, Aaron, thanks for doing this.
Not a problem, Frank. We'll see you tomorrow evening.
Yep, he's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanishi. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow, Friday at 6:00. This was a special time that I needed. I needed the extra time. Doesn't matter why. See you later.